Hello, I'm John Furrier with theCUBE. We are here in Seattle at the AWS headquarters for the AWS CUBE halftime report. It's halfway through the year. It seems like a full year since we were at reInvent, but it's only been 6 months and so much has happened. More models coming out, new usage patterns, new chips, new ways to create more innovation. Obviously, the Gen AI, we're seeing agentic full-time and now all the new cluster systems, new data centers, new regions. Ton of activity. Julie White here, she's the VP of Worldwide Marketing at AWS. Julie, great to have you on theCUBE because one, you always see all the markets, want to find out all the cool things you're working on, and two, sales and marketing is the biggest use case with coding in developers. Q developers booming, QuickSight is booming. I saw this stuff's happening in AWS, but in all the customer bases, these are the two areas we're seeing the most action.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
Thanks for coming on.
You bet, glad to be here.
So are you using AI? Did you give out the memo like everyone else did? Like, okay, team, use AI, not to like shave and cut costs, but to actually build the muscle. What was the directive? What was the memo?
Yeah, the memo said use it everywhere we possibly can. And because again, we as a provider of AI, we got to be using it. And you're right, marketing is on the kind of the very leading edge of how we could be using AI to transform our own discipline. So, and we have to be using it and learning it every day to figure out how to perfect it, right? As we're all in this together on that front.
How was that received? What are some of the things that you guys use it for? Can you give some examples?
Yeah, we took a really open, like, hey, everyone just go try stuff. Like, just go get hands-on. We don't necessarily have, you must do this, you must do that. It was a lot of just, as to our culture, just learn, experiment, iterate, see what catches fire. So what are some of the things that we've seen some great results first, and then we can talk about what hasn't been as productive. I can talk about all sides, but things like helping us with customer lead identification, nurture, and kind of qualified leads. So we've seen huge, like 100% improvement, like big numbers on being able to say, hey, these customer opportunities, the way they're engaging, the signals we're getting from their digital engagement, they're ready. These are hot leads versus these aren't. We need to get, they need to get re-nurtured or kind of more engagement before we have a salesperson follow up. So lots of improvement in just 6 months' time, really, where we put it in like full production and propagate it across all of our systems there. So, but we're still early days, right?
It's like magic. Like, wow, that was good.
Yeah, you kind of don't believe the numbers, right? You're like, what? Is that really working? And then month over month, you're like, it's true. It really does make a huge difference. I think the things we've known and been doing for a while, using AI to help with content development. As someone who's been in marketing forever, I've always had the dream of kind of the one-to-one, that type of targeted marketing. It was just never really possible before Gen AI. So now, doing that well, doing it at scale, just like a lot of other things with AI, it comes back to how good is your data, how much do you know about your customer that you're targeting, and so it's only as good as that, but the capability you see is there of saying, I know you, I can target you with a very specific message.
Yeah, and if you meet someone face-to-face, whether it's at an event like reInvent, and then you have a digital relationship, you're starting to see now a digital, physical relationship happen. So does that, let's step back, let's zoom out. We're getting into, this is too good. Let's zoom out. Let's look at the role in marketing. Amazon obviously is at the cusp of a next generational step up, function change, obviously Gen 1 cloud, we saw that. Now we're at an AI level and we have demographics coming in, the young natives, they're expecting it. And then the existing folks are like, I'm skeptical, sure, that's magical, I've never seen that before. Wow, that's great, double down on that. So you have kind of a new generation coming in, an existing generation of people in the industry. What do you see as the key opportunity for AWS from a brand perspective? Because they have a lot of legacy now, I'm gonna use that word, and not in a negative way, but like—
I think legacy is a good thing.
15 years of hard charging, they made the category. I mean, Matt's got 19% year-over-year growth on huge numbers.
Huge.
And there's more coming. And the data center build-out's got, what, $10 billion data center in North Carolina you announced yesterday. That was awesome news. So more expansion and the demand for Gen AI. So what's your take? What do you look at the landscape? You got to position things and—
I think, like, as you just articulated really well, this business and the market we serve and the customer need is kind of unlimited. I think about it, it's almost like an unlimited total addressable market. It's kind of, it's an unusual place to be, right? And so we're really only limited by our ability to execute really well and meet that customer need best and first. And so, which is a great problem. It's still a problem. So as I think about AI and internally and what we're doing is are giving us the ability to scale to meet the market opportunity that actually exists, right? And as you said, we have wonderful customers that have been with us for 18 years, but we also have brand new customers who are still just learning AWS for the first time. And how do we make sure we're meeting and those customers each where they are on their individual journeys? And it's a huge range,
And the customer obsession as a culture, that factors into how you think about the marketing mix for Amazon.
Of course.
Has anything changed from your perspective as now that you're looking at this changeover? You got Gen AI working in-house. What are some of your goals? How are you viewing the marketplace right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think going back to that true deep customer obsession of, again, I want to be able to engage our customers in a way that most resonates with them. That's hard to do when you're at a size and scale that we are and have that level of customer intimacy and precision marketing. But again, I think with a lot of the tools, whether it's getting the data and using AI to understand the customer need in that moment, to giving them the right marketing message or hitting them the right video that speaks to them. Again, some days I'm talking to a customer who's been with us forever. Some days I'm talking to a customer who's like, this is my first time migrating to the cloud, right? It's we're still there. And so how do we bring forward okay, this is what it means to move to the cloud, customer. Let me give you that content and have AI generate that in that moment versus you're putting your 300th workload on AWS and how to do that. So
AWS got a lot of TV advertising. We love the sports marketing.
Yes.
So that's kind of what I call the brand side. And then you were referring to earlier the customer, a lot of these these workflows. How do you getting in, looking at the data?
Demand gen side,
Data-driven marketing. You got now organic growing. There's more channels than ever before.
Yeah.
You got Instagram, TikTok. You have all these different channels.
Yep.
It's hard to have a content strategy, and the branding stuff is cool. That sold me at all the TV commercials and the sports. People see those, but when you get into the personalization opportunity,
more targeted demand gen experience,
micro-targeting, you mentioned some of the capabilities.
Yeah.
How do you see that? Because I think Gen AI might present great opportunities, and you guys have a treasure trove of data. So, where would you rank that on the opportunity list?
Oh, very high. Again, I'm back to that, the demand gen of there's the brand side, which, by the way, we have beautiful AI stories there, too. And our sports partnerships are some of the coolest stories to tell.
Cool.
I think about the NFL draft that we recently did and using AI to kind of help the fans follow along and see what the statistics were real time. So those are fun activations.
What other brand stuff you have while you're on that topic? You got the NFL, you did the draft. What else do you have?
Well, we have the next gen stats we've been doing with NFL for a long time. Right? On that front. F1, doing a great partnership with them, and talk about needing to understand things real time and so fast. F1 is probably the best example of what that looks like. So cool partnerships there, maybe the kind of most fun ones. And then still doing some wonderful work with the NHL. We have the Seattle Seahawks right here in town. So we have a pretty nice, robust portfolio.
They were on here, by the way, yesterday.
Oh, fantastic.
So digital media, and they have a content. They're talking about the content opportunity and how they're looking at, and they're a big partner of you guys.
Yes, they are.
All right, so brands checking the boxes.
Yes.
Any changes on the brand front do you see coming, or any updates, or pretty much steady state on the branding?
No, there's some good updates. We'll have to stay tuned. Maybe we follow up in a little bit.
All right. All right, now let's get into some of the fun stuff, because you have the data, you have so much, the partner network, we've seen the reorgs of those go on. Now we see clear startup focus. Matt was very clear last year before reInvent.
Right.
He's committed to the startups. And any discussion that they're not is nonsense. That's my word. He didn't say nonsense, but that's what my interpretation was. So clearly,
think about we started really with startups as the founding customers of AWS, and we very uniquely have built cloud services that really meet their needs, right? And that continue to be true.
And this startup action happening. I'm seeing stuff out in the field now. You have startup group now dedicated.
Yep.
Any plans there people should know about startups, because it's really rocking in San Francisco and New York and all around the world. There's young guns working on enterprise stuff, and then thinking about the next big idea. What's the startup support that you guys are offering?
Yeah, we continue to have huge investments around our Activate programs and kind of helping, whether you're getting started or whether you're a little bit later stage, making sure they have the resources to be successful. There's funding, but there's a lot of just the hands-on helping, particularly as folks are building out. Obviously Gen AI has been a huge boon in the startup area. So how do we make sure we're leaning in with our expertise and our knowledge, and really two-way, right? They're actually helping us shape, hey, here's what we need from you, and here's what we're looking at to scale. And so it's spent a lot of time with startup community doing the two-way conversation about what more they need from us and vice versa.
I remember Matt offered credits at reInvent. I can't remember how big the number one was, but it's pretty large. So you guys credit incentives, all kinds of programs.
Yep, supports, accelerators, kind of hands-on resources to just the
I saw a press release this week from a company, and the word was, it was this certification or word, deployed on AWS. Now I know that something on AWS means more, it's more integrated. So
Yeah.
I've never seen deployed on AWS. There was a security company, Deep
Oh,
Impact.
interesting.
So that was a new thing. I saw that. That's
Okay.
So you guys have these levels of marketing brand marks or certifications like.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's news to me, but it
So-
doesn't sounds good.
Well, that's security.
Yeah.
Because security, they have that hard, that confidence level bar. Okay, so what other cool things are going on with content?
Okay. It's particularly around AI, I assume, when you
Yeah.
ask about content. So obviously, all kind of forms of written content, but thinking about social media, obviously using Nova, our own models, particularly for image development, experimenting more and more with video development and short form video, and that's one where, to your earlier comment, like the human in the loop and really iterating to make sure that like what it looks like and how it intends, and make sure we had some early ideations that didn't really resonate super well. So like, that's great insight. Let's keep going. And so getting better and sharper at that. But then also think about, gosh, reInvent. There's like 1 million hours of content that gets created at that event. And then how do you use AI to like pull that together, take the highlights, push them up, and bring it forward over time too.
Great use of agent technology.
Yeah, exactly. Like find the things on that and then create a 20-second synopsis of this piece of it, pulling together the highlights.
Well, do you see Amazon having their own like TV station or media outlet? Amazon has, I think, some video.
We do. We have a few different channels. I'm also of the mind too. Well, let's make sure we go to where customers are too. Versus, I mean, it's great to bring them to us, but let's also go to be in the communities where they're at. So, a mix of both creating first-party channels for them to know they can come get the best content, but I also want to make sure we're pushing content into lots of channels and lots of vehicles because people are very much distributed. And increasingly with Gen AI too, like they're going to be pulling and aggregating information from all places.
And
as
plus,
well.
podcast formats are hot now. People want to have a relationship with the brand. I think that's something that we're seeing. I want to have a relationship with the brand I love. I don't need to just get the messaging. That seems to be hot right now.
There's heated debates amongst my peer
Really?
community and the
What's
CMO
the debate?
community with generative AI and LMs kind of creating a new way to glean information. Does brand become more important? Does brand become less important? And how to think about managing
I think brand is way important now than ever
See,
before.
I agree. I think it's going to be more important than ever, not less important.
Well, one of the things we're seeing is interesting, and maybe this is just kind of my old school thinking, but
Yeah.
like, social media has everyone has a channel. They have like a LinkedIn handle. They have all kinds of WhatsApp groups. I mean, I know CISOs that have basically WhatsApp groups with all their peers in it. So like one text, your brand could be out the window, right? So or get deals, right? So all kinds of touch points. So everyone has a social network, but what's happening is that like an IP address, everyone has a home. What's happening we're seeing now is trust and original content that's authentic seems to do well, and these trust groups are forming, these micro communities, and I think people generally view trust as don't exploit the community, connect to it. So we're starting to see kind of a connection around peers and colleagues, where I see groups where people from brands and customers are all kind of one social network, but it's kind of work, but kind of not work. They have kind of shared interests. I was just at a kite surfing weekend. We were all tech people that happen to be kite surfers.
Interesting.
Like, okay.
That's pretty cool.
Well, it was very cool, but the tech side was great, but it's actually some business got done because it was trusted.
Yes.
But there was no business agenda. So you're starting to see these trust networks form. This is a new phenomenon. We're seeing that organic content that's trusted brings people together. What's your reaction to that? And do you see that as an opportunity? Do you see it as it real? Or am I hallucinating?
No, I think it is interesting. Like at a more social and psychological level, perhaps, right? As the advancement with AI, and there's the ability for it to be abused. Like people lean in towards the humanity part of it. So but if you think about, gosh, my whole career in marketing, the most influential decision makers kind of are your peers, right? The humans that you trust and you can see and and kite surf with, and I think that will always be strong. And I think to your point of now, there's
a trust network.
It is, and it always has been. It hasn't always been as well easily to facilitate and maybe as tapped into. But when I want to know something, guess who I ask first? My peers, right? My peers across the industry.
And we all have a friend that's an expert at something that you're not. Like it's like I always go to my one friend for, hey, I need some advice on how to configure this.
I know, and it's funny, and like everyone's like, oh, B2B, it's a very, data-driven, precision, it's a very analytical decision. I'm like, no, it's not. It's about the humans.
I think
I promise.
I think B2B is moving away from to much more consumer-like, because the tech is now mainstream. So if you think about the business we're in, enterprise, if 15 years ago when I started SiliconANGLE, nobody was covering the enterprise, like 3 people.
Right.
Now enterprise is mainstream because of AI, because of Gen AI and the chips. People, if you were a gamer at 8 years old, 10 years ago, you're now 18 and you know all about AMD, you know all about NVIDIA.
Right.
They're pretty much experts at tech.
Yeah, you're right. 2 things. Normal people in the world are much more technical than they were 20 years ago, right? Yeah. And then 2, the technology's gotten much easier to understand with the advent of cloud and SaaS and other models where I don't have to rack and stack servers, right? It's just I can subscribe to it. So both of those things make it a difference.
My son's 23 years old, and him and his friends were talking about this new watch that instruments there because they're runners, and they're like, so they're nerding out on normal life stuff. But it's an IoT.
It's all tech stuff.
I'm like, that's IoT. No, it's a watch.
You're like, who is that? That's old.
So the culture is here. So as a marketer, when you have these cultural shifts, transitions are great opportunities to really put a stake in the ground and kind of, not rebrand, I hate that word rebrand, but put a stake in the ground to extend, evolve. Yeah. What's your thoughts there? Do you think about that, or is that just kind of too out there?
No, I think about a brand like AWS is so strong and has been known for, to your point, security, reliability, enterprise-grade trust, innovation for a long time. So when this new generation of AI shows up, we have to make sure at a brand, as the kind of steward of the brand, that we're making sure we're relevant in that set of conversations and our brand is seen and heard there as well. But it is these moments too where you can have your brand kind of be reconsidered in our way. I think AWS is a strong brand. My job is about keeping it strong and keeping it relevant on the cutting edge. But other brands can use it as a moment of reconsideration. Both are possible.
You've been a senior marketer for generations. You've seen the waves. Okay, you've seen the big growths. Yep. Amazon's been the growth, and we're going to go now the growth. When you look at Amazon, when you came in. What was the vibe? What made you come to Amazon? And then when you're in, Amazon is not for the faint of heart. It's like, they have their own little language, raising the bar, one-way doors, bias for action, frugality.
All of them. You got them.
Results.
Good job.
Paper cuts, dogs barking, all kinds of phrases. No, but there's culture of innovation.
Yes, exactly.
And there's so much that's going on that they're in a good position. As a marketer, it's a dream scenario, or it could be crazy.
Well, both are always true. Those will come together. And I think, what brought me here to your question of having admired Amazon from the outside for so many years and watching its success, I really wanted to know what it's like to be innovative at this scale. It's really unheard of at this size, this scale, and still be innovating at the pace across so many things. And as I've come in, and what I believed before I came in, it is about the culture, the precision, the intentionality, the deeply operationalized level of culture. You recited it, we all know it and really lean into it, and that's the
operational side of it gets mentioned a lot. I think I was just talking with Prasad about this. He builds the data centers. We had a long chat about 15 minutes talking about data center as a computer, how they design it. It was a really kind of fun conversation. But one of the things that came up was the operational excellence of Amazon is not really looked at by the mainstream press and analysts. We look at the shiny and Nitro and all these things are happening. But if you look at the scale, it's a massive.
You couldn't. I do think that is some of our secret sauce, right? Our ability to just operate with incredible precision at global scale. Think about the incredible work we did with D-SQL, just recently at G8, and to do that at the scale and the way we did it is just almost mind-blowing.
Unbelievable.
Right?
And also strands.
Yeah.
Okay, that one came out of we had to build some stuff to make that happen. Well, that's good too. Oh my God, everyone loves it. It goes viral.
Right.
Products are going viral.
Yes.
I've never seen that before.
Well, there's going to be more. Just you wait.
All right, what's the coolest thing that you've seen since you've been here?
Oh my gosh, coolest thing?
Or coolest things.
All right, I'm going to be biased since I sit in the marketing. I do love our sports work. In terms of, again, culturally relevant, interesting, people can understand
Customers go to it.
all of those things, right? So I think those are some cool things. Seeing, I guess, coming in from the outside, seeing how we run at scale, and you talked about our data centers, and it's truly awe-inspiring. And you've heard it from the others, so I won't repeat. But I think that is so. I don't know. To me, that's pretty amazing.
Do you tap the engineers a lot for projects? Because we had another GM come in. I'm Swami's best friend. Colleen, she's like, I'm Swami's best friend. She's smoozing Swami because she wants, she wants the goods, right? So there's a lot of internal value that you could tap here at AWS for your team. Do you have access to some of those groups to bring in some engineering? Also, you got the coding.
Yeah.
You got Q.
No, I hang out with Swami probably more than Colleen does. But it's great as I'm working on us adopting AI and trying different things. Swami's team's sitting with us, so it is awesome to have that kind of relationship inside the company.
So you see a marketing stack evolving for you. I shouldn't use the word marketing stack because that means something else. But what the Martech stack was, kind of in old school marketing.
Yeah.
We're seeing kind of the emergence of potentially a Gen AI version of that.
Absolutely.
What's your vision on that? Because we have a lot of conversations on theCUBE about this because we kind of think that that'll be abstracted away, still be plumbing at some level, but not like, it's already a mishmash of a lot of things, point solutions, but like I think there's going to be, there might be a general, more focused, intentional stack that might be different by company. Or we don't know, that's why I asked the question.
We have a lot of different things underway. I say, is the tech stack going to change for marketing? It is, and it's going to continue. I wouldn't tell you I know exactly what it's going to look like, but it's very much changing. Think about just what's underway right now in my world. We're using AI, everything from migrating our 75,000 web pages, migrating those over using AI, making it a very fast, seamless process. We never tackled it before because it was going to be so hard and so long.
Now we're like, I don't want that project.
No, we're like, that's somebody else's. I'm like, well, now it's a lot easier than it used to be. Let's go. And we're literally doing it in a matter of months, which would have been years in the past. We wouldn't even tried, right? To new content development, to nurture, to thinking about creating, real-time podcasts out of content, just way more consumable information. We already talked about more precision targeting. So
personalization must be on your list because customer lanes could be almost, targeted.
Right.
Generate a customer engagement directly of one with a customer.
It's literally the meeting I just walked out of how we're going to take the account-based marketing, that idea, and really make it marketing to one. Right? In each of our customers.
We think about that all the time. And we think that these networks have access to customers faster, and if that is believable, you say, okay, then if you have access to the customer, what do you say?
Right.
What would
Not
you
the
say?
generic thing, right? You need to say, well, what do I need right there in that moment?
They're going to open the door when you knock on it. Are you ready?
Yeah.
That's the question. People, we wouldn't know what to say.
Right.
So now you can answer the question.
You can say, hey.
I think that's a great idea. But that brings up, how do you make that happen? You need to have all the data.
You gotta have the data. And this is, I think, the struggle a lot of customers have, and I am one of them. Of how do you scale those things, right? And we're like we do in all things Amazon, kind of try and iterate and test, and then say, okay, that's the thing we're going to bet on now. Let's go to scale. And it's funny. It's just like early times of the cloud too. The tech can actually move pretty fast. The people and the processes, it's a little harder, right? And so just saying, okay, great. If the tech can do this, how do I change our human workflows, and how do we change our human roles, and how do we adjust that? And so that's really the gritty part of adopting all of this.
My final question for you is we wrote an article in Economist published a year ago, it was on the print version, on digital twins. And it was not about manufacturing, but digital twins in all verticals. Digital twin doesn't mean it's a metaverse. It's not, a digital and physical worlds coming together, and you hear a lot about physical AI, for instance, in factories and digital twins for efficiency. If digital twins means making the physical thing more efficient with a twin, you could do it for every vertical. So you could have digital twins in marketing, you could have digital twins in sales. So that means the digital rendering of a physical process. So is that something that you guys think about at Amazon? Because we're seeing a lot of digital twin conversations from customers around, hey, I want to use the data with some synthetic data to make my process better because I want to be more efficient. We've been hearing rumblings around marketing executives saying, hey, I can take my sales and create a digital twin of my best sales rep and then use it as a training bot with AI and use these tools out there and actually make it look like an actor and say, here's what a good sales call looks like. Or
Right,
actually
right.
be the generative AI for the entry-level call. So you're starting to see the data extraction, and marketing's full of data.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys must have a treasure trove. So what's your thinking around this
Yeah.
idea of leveraging the data for simulations or efficiency?
I guess I look at it maybe in the same lens, but more from an agentic adoption. Right?
Yeah.
How are we having these kind of agent-first experiences across marketing? And one of them, as a real-world example, I have this fantastic demand response team who, we have opportunities and customers, and they call and make sure that you're you and you're ready for the next step. And right now, I can only really get to about 30% of the opportunities with the team I have. Right? And I'm like, I would love to get to all those opportunities. So how do I have some agentic experience, some AI agent experiences that can call down and make sure you're you, and then reach all of my customers versus just the 30% that I can get to today. So it's maybe a little bit different pivot on the digital twin, but it's like, how do I bring in?
You got events, you have reInvent every year, you got Reinforce coming up, I think, in a week. Or no, next month, is that a week? No.
Couple weeks.
Couple weeks, yeah, that's Databricks next week. And then you got a lot of digital content.
Tons.
So.
Maybe too much.
I looked at the playlist at reInvent, I'm like, I can't watch.
Lot.
Too long, don't watch. It's like TLDR for video. No, but there's a lot of, but how do you synthesize those nuggets?
Right. I mean, that's another, again, using AI to say, I want to know everything, the top news about DSQL. How do I pull that together? Short form video, appropriate for a social post, right? Making that happen.
All right, final question, since I had one final one. What are you working on? What are you optimizing for? What's your focus as you look out to reInvent? Obviously, a big event that's going to be a flagship event for AWS, always fun. Replay's always great. I could ask about the final thing, which band you're going to have there. But what are you working on right now? What are your goals?
Certainly, the reInvent registration just opened this week, so it seems like far away, but it is just right around the corner on that front. We still have our different summits, like New York Summit, big event, right? So those are going on across the world in that area. As we talked about, doing some cool sports activations heading into F1 and the NFL season coming up as well. So those pieces, and then there's just the I would say thinking about what is that digital engagement. How, as customers are now engaging more with LLMs to find information versus search, really rethinking what's the digital experiences we have to create to stay relevant in that world as well. So it's a little more gritty of the marketing, not the sexy events and ads, but it's kind of the hardworking marketing, and there's a lot of change there.
You got both. You got the brand side, that's kind of the cool, but you're in more of the let's get the data, let's grind out the process, because that's where the value is.
Right, like engaging with customers every day and all across those channels, and how do we do that better? And then that's the gritty but really hardworking part of marketing.
Well, thanks for coming on theCUBE, appreciate it for our halftime. If you had to look back at this past year, how would you describe the past 6 months for you?
Whew, it's like 6 years and 6 months.
Remember the internet? They called it internet years.
Yeah,
we're in
years.
AI years.
Yeah, I think these are faster years than ever.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
VP of Marketing here at AWS, laying out all the opportunities, even marketing and sales, big part of the value creation, extraction, developers, sales and marketing, big use cases, only going to get better across all verticals. This is theCUBE breaking down all the action here at our halftime show. Thanks for watching.